All right, welcome to the Strength Coach Collective, a podcast brought to you by Two Brain Business. We are here to help advance the strength and conditioning coaching community by bringing you a wide range of experts in the field. You can join our group at strengthcoachcollective.com. For today's episode, I'm your host, Kenny Markwardt. I'm joined today by Coach Mike Burgener, who's known by most as Coach B. He's a level 5 senior weightlifting coach, founder of Burgener Strength, and the owner of Mike's Gym, the world's 6th CrossFit affiliate, where he now runs a geezer group. And I'm super excited to hear all about that, his experience in weightlifting, and I think he can share a lot with us. So let's start with the beginning. Let's talk about how you got into weightlifting, which I'm familiar with, but I would love to have our listeners understand that as well.
Right. As a young boy in high school, I wanted to be bigger, stronger, and faster. And my dad was an All-American football player at James Millikan University in Decatur, Illinois. And back then, in his time period in the 40s, they didn't believe in weightlifting because weightlifters became bodybuilders and they were muscle bound in his opinion. So hard work, baling hay and shoveling coal and things like that were my, resistance exercises. But I loved it because I loved the way it made me feel, and doing pull-ups and push-ups and things like that were acceptable, but lifting weights was not acceptable. So fortunately, I had a football scholarship to the University of Notre Dame. And my coach was a guy by the name of Ara Parsegian. I played on a 1966 national championship team. But I came into Notre Dame weighing about 165 pounds, and Parsegian wanted me to be 180 pounds. So he took me down to the coach, a Catholic priest by the name of Father Lang, and who had a gym. And he wanted Father Lang to build me up and get me up to about 180 to 185 pounds. And so, I went down there just about every day, and Father Lang instructed me. And back then, the instruction was the Olympic lifts. He had the clean and press, the snatch, and the clean and jerk were part of the early phases of weightlifting. Back in prior to 72, that's when you go to a weightlifting contest, that's what you would compete in.
Right.
So Father Lang got me, big and strong. I ended up weighing 182 pounds, and my 40 time went down. So like I went from a 4.5 40 to a 4.4 40, and, basically gained, 17 pounds doing it. So Father Lang was responsible for me getting into weightlifting, and actually he's responsible for me furthering my education in Olympic style weightlifting, and became passionate about it and really loved the sport. With that. Yeah.
Was that uncommon at the time? Was weightlifting, because even now it's like the instruction in weightlifting, as we're going to define as the snatch and clean and jerk, is really sparse in my opinion, like CrossFit, and that's really brought that to the forefront more. But in general, the instructions really few and far, like proper instructions few and far between. Was that the case back then, or was that?
Yeah, it was the case back then, and in fact, I was heavily recruited in football, and Notre Dame really was the only school that had a weight room. And it wasn't sponsored by the athletic program, but it was sponsored by this Catholic priest, Father Lang, who, was the coach for the 1953 weightlifting national champions, which was Notre Dame. So there were sparse groups, that were lifting weights. And, there was a few universities that would, just off to the side, none supported by the athletic department. And really until 1972 with the University of Nebraska, Boyd Epley. He was the guy that, really brought it together on that collegiate level. And that was the start of big time collegiate strength training. But prior to then, no, it wasn't anything. So Father Lang was the guy that, him and a guy by the name of Alvin Roy, they were big back in the early days, of strength and conditioning. But Father Lang was really big in the Olympic lifts, and York Barbell Club was Bob Hoffman. He was really, Steve Stanko, Tommy Suggs. Those were the guys that, John Grimmick, those were the guys were the education for weightlifting back in the day.
Yeah, got it. I mean, I still feel like today it's mostly like you see poorly performed power cleans a lot, and other than that, it's the full lifts are not as popular, despite the fact that I think that most of us would agree that have spent a lot of time with the barbell, that the range of motion performed with a full clean or full snatch, even like the rate that is just it's injury prevention, power generation. Like there's a lot of benefit to that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I believe that too. For me personally, I don't think there's anybody that shouldn't be doing the Olympic lifts. I mean, any athletic, any person that's an athlete, or anybody that just wants to get fit, that's the kind of thing that I would have them doing, even if it's with PVC pipe, just to get that range of motion. And if their shoulders are bad, then a lot of times these guys can go ahead and do high hang, PVC pipes, high hang, split snatches or power split snatches. I mean, even at my level at the Geezers, we do walking lunges. Walking lunges is a great exercise. And so if somebody can do a high hang split walking lunge, all that is a high hang split snatch.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys I work with, the Geezers and stuff like that, or somebody that's had ankle injuries or knee or hip problems, but have good shoulders, they can still split snatch more and deeper than they can if they're doing a regular power snatch with using the squat style. So I really believe that Olympic style weightlifting for all populations, even if it's with PVC pipe, is a very functional and a very positive exercise for you to do.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I think it's different, and very well might look different for an older population or even a general population. But I'm really glad you said that, because we were talking about athletics, and I think that that's where a lot of people will live with those. They'll think that that's just an athletic performance type movement. But I was actually working with a client of mine this morning. She's later in years, and we were doing split jerks, and I knew we were having this conversation today. And one of the things I mentioned to her about was footwork. So, when you dip drive and you are switching your feet, where she's doing both sides, she's leading both sides. And so, man, if you were to slip and to fall, like this is a training method for you leave the ground, you move your feet, and you catch. Like I feel like that's really applicable, but I don't think this is something that most people would be putting their general population, or especially older populations, through.
Yeah. Well, I think they should. I mean, if you take it from the very beginning too. I mean, again, my athletes, PVC pipe, maybe PVC pipe filled with sand a little bit, maybe a rebar. Roga's got a great training bar that's just a sleeve, that weighs 5 kilos that's 25 millimeters in diameter. And then they have one that's 27 millimeters that mimics the men's bar. So one mimics the women's bar at 25 millimeters, and the other one mimics the men's bar at 27 millimeters. And each one's 5 kilos, the other is 7 kilos. And, my guys can do that. They can do it's interesting the way you do it, because you start them out, can you do a walking lunge? And then, okay, take a walking lunge, take this thing over your head and use a snatch grip. Now let's do your walking lunges. As long as they got balance and they don't walk that tightrope, and you get them to step towards 1 o'clock on the right leg and step towards 11 o'clock on the left leg, and then gradually get them to bend down and touch the knee to the ground even. In time, they feel very comfortable with that. And my guys, the Geezers, it's important for them to maintain balance and learn how to use that balance. And in case they end up falling or whatever, they can catch themselves. So I think the split snatch is much more efficient and effective for that population than the snatch.
Sure.
And even, even for us, the jerk, which is the split jerk, for us, we just say jerk, but, the jerk in itself is an effective exercise. And, if they can learn how to move those feet, but not walk the tightrope, move those feet out for balance. So if someone ends up falling, then they're going to learn to step to create a wider base, so that they can catch themselves before they end up falling.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. let's talk about that geezer group a little bit more specifically. So you're 78. We were talking about a little bit before on the podcast. You're the senior alpha geezer in your group. Let's talk about that group. Who's in there, what their training looks like, and how you're trying to apply these concepts to that age group.
Yeah, first of all, when we bring everybody in, it's a very unstructured. It used to be structured, but no one would follow my program. So we try to get them to do some kind of a leg exercise, something that is involved with that, whether it's squatting down to a chair, sit to stands, as Glassman used to call it. But all my guys can do that efficiently. We have. It's not a safety squat bar, but I have handles that were used for trying to be able to get these guys to front squat. But we found out that it's easier for them to be able to hold on to a regular bar with these handles than they can do back squats. And so they'll do box back squats, and then if I can get them to go down to a box and then eventually take the box away, they can do that. Now, none of them can go parallel. That idea of getting that hip below the knee is for my generation, for my group, isn't happening. But we can get pretty doggone close. And of course, I try to get their ankle mobility going. It seems to be that the geezers have a tendency to lose ankle mobility more than anything else. And so I have them all watching knees over the toe guy, and that Ben Patrick, I think, has done more to help the general population in getting the knee strong, So we'll have them do knees, driving the knees forward first and then go down rather than hinging and going down. So we'll drive the knees first and then they'll eventually hinge. But if they get that knees going first, the ankles are going to become more mobile, the chest is upright, and they're going to be able to stay more upright. And then, the walking lunges beginning, we just have them do lunges, but I have them hold a balance like a walking stick. And so they'll put the walking stick in their right hand and step with their left. And then they'll switch hands, put the walking stick in their left hand, step to the right. And what that does for them is it gives them a base, a balance. Then if they end up doing a walking the tightrope type situation, they're still balanced with that PVC pipe. And I think for my generation, the guys that I work with out here at the Geezer Group, that's extremely critical. They need to create an ability, a neuromuscular ability to stay balanced. Because when a geezer falls, it's almost a death sentence. And most of the times that they fall, it's because they cross over their feet or, one toe hits the back of their shoe on the other toe and, on the other foot, and they just slip and fall. Yeah. So, understanding that the legs are the most important part for my geezers is that I got to get those legs strong, and I'm going to start them out just by doing sit to stands and then progress to lunges and lunges with PVC pipe or, a walking stick to learn balance and control. And then we just move from there. And if I can get them to do push-ups on a 45 or against a wall, then, then we're doing a pretty good job. But, my geezers do ball slams. They do kettlebell swings. They do a lot of kettlebell upright rows. I try to get them to do total muscular body weight. I don't like the isolation with them. I like to get them to use, like kettlebell swings is a great exercise for geezers. Just doing a squatting to an upright row. Using your legs, standing up with it and continuing ballistically, almost like a clean, but it's just a high pull, basically with a kettlebell. Things like that, you use almost every muscle group in the body, is what we're trying to mimic. We don't, very rarely, if I got a geezer that says, oh, I want to get my arms more toned, then okay, well, you do that at the end of the workout, type situation. So I'll let them do arm curls or whatever. But most of the stuff we do are, every exercise we do is going to work multiple muscle groups.
Yeah. So it sounds like the program can be a bit mismatched depending on the attitude when they show up. But are you thinking about life patterns, movement patterns? Is this an evolution of your program design from other stuff? Like, how do you What's your thought process with that group?
Yeah, my thought process has always been total body exercises, full, muscle group exercises. I never in my days as a weightlifter, unless it was at the end and I wanted to do looking good exercises, which I did very rarely. And even today, I never do arm curls or anything like that. Everything that I do involves multiple muscle groups surrounding all the planes. I mean, my shoulders need to be replaced, but I'm 78 and I'm not going to get it done. So I just adjust my workouts accordingly. But, I love kettlebell swings. I love one arm kettlebell swings and then switch to the other arm. So I'll do a swing, let go, catch it, and bring it down, and do that because it's eye-hand coordination.
Sure.
It's learning to decelerate. I mean, the deceleration phases and learning that aspect is very important, I think, when you get older. You gotta, if I accelerate and just fall, I want to be able to learn to decelerate and use those muscle groups that allow me to, get strong there so that I can hopefully catch myself. The death sentence literally is for a geezer and my buddies is when you do fall.
Sure.
So, and we talk about that all the time. We don't want to fall. You don't want to, you look at Kirby Smart's dad. Kirby Smart, the coach of Georgia, ended up falling.
Yeah.
And he ended up passing away, and he's a couple years younger than I am. So I think it's really important for my group to be informed and then train according to what you're doing. A lot of my guys like to walk, but walking's wonderful. We want to walk, but we want to get strong while we're walking. So a lot of times we'll go on a walk around here in my neighborhood, and we'll stop and in between, and we'll start talking, and we'll do air squats.
Yeah.
Even though they're half air squats, we'll do air squats. We might do 25 for time. And then we'll continue on the walking. And I got so many hills out here, we'll walk backwards, and that's so critical because walking backwards is the science. I mean, you have to look for there's nothing behind you there may be something behind you, but you have to look that you're not going in. We want to go in a straight line. So learning to pick your eyes on a point and then walking backwards up that hill, teaches you balance. So the geezers a lot of times will want to walk backwards, and again they'll walk that tightrope backwards. But when I can get them to look out in front, and again talk to them, okay, step to when I'm going backwards, I'm going to step with my right leg to 11 and step with my left leg to 1, and keep that in their brain housing group. It really gives them something to work towards.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds
balance is a major key for us.
Yeah, you're practicing balance, right? Like you're getting practice repetitions and balance and life skills.
Life skills for the geezers, yeah.
Yeah, when they find you, like, is the expectation, are they there because they don't want to fall? Or are they there because they want to, you know what I mean? Like, is this a friend? Like, what's the appeal for them to come and track you down and start working?
Yeah, the guys that come up here typically, probably 80% of them are my buddies. And that I have a gym. They were afraid to come up here, a long time ago because the only guys that ever trained up here were snatching 300 and clean and jerk and 400. So they were intimidated by that. But, once that, my son was gone and the Olympic Training Center and all the athletes that, in 2008, basically, I really retired from the Olympic weightlifting, environment and went more with the CrossFit environment with Coach Glassman. And we still did snatches and clean and jerks up here, but the population I got up here, most of them were CrossFitters that wanted to get better in the snatch and clean and jerk. They didn't care about competing at the national or international level. So, the geezers started coming up here a lot, and all they really expected was, can you teach me how to get my body in shape?
Yeah.
They wanted to be in shape. They tried to enhance their lifestyles. I like I told you before, I had a guy come up here that weighed 326 pounds. And he's like 5'10", and heavy guy. And right now he's down to 280. And we're talking to him about diet and nutrition. He does a lot of the biking and the rowing and but he does a lot of walking, but he does resistance exercises as well. So he's the only one that I would say that is way above where he needs to be weight wise. But we're all looking at improving our lifestyle. I'm really big on nutrition. I'm really big on the meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds. Some fruit, little starch, and no sugar at all. And I try to educate them that way. So I think people come up here for socialization for sure. At our age, we're just trying to get out of the house and have some place to go to get away from our wives and that kind of thing. And so we come up here and for 2.5 hours we have a great time and give each other shit and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
And they're all open to education. They all want to learn, but they all know and understand that, okay, because I can't do back squats parallel, I'm going to do half back squats to whatever I can do it to, and they understand that. They can't worry about what I can't do. I worry about, and they worry about what I can do and then do it.
Beautiful.
And that's really what I try to educate them on.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that, people as they age start to say no to more things. And what you just said, what you can do, maybe in regards to exercise, but in life, the can do has become a lot more important and exciting and gives you a purpose to push on, right? Because I imagine there's some things that are challenging. You feel like you can't do the things you used to do, but you still can do a lot, and especially if you enhance by practicing and preparing and doing and learning balance and some of the basics. It sounds like you're doing what might sound basic to normal, or sorry, not normal, but a younger population. So,
well, you'll find I used to be that younger population, right?
Yeah.
And I was the guy that I'm going to lift heavy weights all my life, and all of a sudden, that dog doesn't hunt, and so you can choose to, okay, well, I can't lift heavy weights. I can't lift what I used to do, so I'm going to just quit and go on to something else. Or you can say, I'm going to do what I can do, and that's what I've chosen to do. For an example, 25 air squats, or 100 air squats for time. And I don't care if it takes you all day to do it. I'm going to start my air squats, and I'm not leaving air squats until I get 100 in. And it may take me, 10, 15, 20 minutes. But if I continue doing them, I am going to train those air squats. And I'm going to go down as far as I can go. And I'm going to do those air squats. And I'm going to write it down and I'm going to record it. And then the next day that I do that, I'm going to try to beat that time. And I will tell you, the first time that I did air squats for time, it took me literally 5 minutes and 50 seconds to do the damn things. And I did it, but each time I came down. And then my 10-year-old grandson challenged me. And he says, well, Pacha, I can beat your air squats. And I'm going, the hell you can. And I think my time at that point was like 4 minutes or so. That little sucker did it in like 2:38. And he kicked my ass. And so I said, okay, well, then I was motivated then because I watched that 10-year-old just beat my butt and going all the way down. And, and I went down and I beat my time by about 35 or 40 seconds because I was motivated by him.
Sure.
So, I could just sit there and say, oh, shit, I'm not going to do these anymore because my grandson beat me. Or I could take the challenge and I could say, okay, well, I'm going to do better. So when I started tightening up and feeling, okay, this is starting to get tough, instead of stopping, I pushed through for another 10 or 15 reps, and then I stopped instead of stopping when I wanted to. And then finally I got where I could do all 100 without stopping. And, that's the mindset. So it's this that gets in the way. especially with the older population. But I will tell you, in my opinion, the older population right now is coming back.
Yeah.
Because these guys want a positive lifestyle. They want to be able to go out and walk with their grandkids. They want to go out and play golf. They want to go out and play pickleball, play tennis or whatever. And even though you're at 78, I can't do what I used to do, but I can do what I can do, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And that's the way my geezers try to act too.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's so much one of the reasons I really wanted to talk to you about that is that there are inspirations and people showing the way that this is like there's still a lot of room for improvement and there's still a lot of runway left when you start to have grandkids. And I think there was a generation that would say I can't, grandpa can't get up off the couch or whatever it was. And I think that's really evolving through the inspiration of people like you. And I do find that that's such a massive why for the older populations that I work for is they have grandkids. They want to be able to do that stuff with their grandkids and potentially their great grandkids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for me personally, it's today I had a self-talk with myself, right? I ice plunge, 4 or 5 days, 6 days a week. I go down to this place and the community is so positive. I'm the oldest guy at the ice plunge place, but so the younger kids are always asking me questions about stuff, and I have a pool and a sauna, and right now I've frozen my membership at this place, and I'll do it at home. But I said to myself, you know what? My goal is to live to be 100, and it's not live to be 100, but I want to be functional at 100. I want to be able to get out of my chair, use my body to walk, to do things that I want to do, not use a cane or, otherwise I have to work towards that.
Right.
Yeah. If I end up getting an illness or whatever, okay, then I get it. But, there's, in my opinion, I'm not going to be held back by my lack of desire to keep my body healthy and firm, as I age. I'm gonna do everything I can to keep myself healthy so I can hit that magic goal of 100 if I can. So
a functional, the lifespan plus health span is exactly that.
Yeah, I don't want to be 100 and being able to sit in a wheelchair and slumped over and watching TV all day. I want to be able to get out and watch my grandkids play in their sports or whatever it is, and hopefully live long enough so I can be a great grandfather. That type of thing. So.
Yeah, I feel like there's such a big difference between being propped up and kept alive on drugs and machines versus living life and seeking it to the fullest.
Right. And that's why a lot of times at my geezers, I really talk a lot about nutrition with them. These guys that, they're into that processed food so much. And if I can get them to just think, the CrossFit, Glassman's big deal on the nutrition. If I can just get them to meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, and some fruit and a little starch and no sugar. If I can get them to do that and monitor their alcohol, the geezers are they really like their beer and wine and bourbon and stuff like that, and I do too. Sure. But I don't. Right now I give myself a challenge, and I'm 158 days of no alcohol, and
wow.
And and it's it makes me feel better. So that's what I try to talk to them about. As well. So
how long are you going? What's your challenge for no alcohol?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's I take one day at a time. And I haven't been inebriated in 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
But I do like good cold beer on a hot day or 2 or 3 and sitting in front of the TV. I like my Buffalo Trace or bourbon and I like that. But there's times that every year since I've been 25 or 30, I've always given up alcohol for Lent.
Mm.
And then a couple years ago, I said, well, I'm going to go 100 days. And I went 100 days. And then next year, I said, well, I got to beat the 100 days. So I went 101 days. And then the next year, I said, I did 105 days. And right now, I'm on 157 or whatever it is days. And I don't know, when I'm ready, if I'll have a drink and then I'll start over.
Yeah, I love it. That's great. That's super great. So how is with that in mind, it sounds like there's a little bit of a refinement as you've gone along it sounds like you maybe just have to be a little bit more careful. I'm not sure that the alcohol thing has to do with this question or not, but the refinement of what you're doing, your nutrition, your training, the refinement of that is over the journey. How's that refinement gone? Like, however you want to frame it, maybe decade by decade, or when you started to notice, hey, this is maybe not something I should do, even if I can do.
Yeah. I've always been a guy that I've been obsessed. I don't want to say obsessed with my body weight, but I'm the guy that always used to, as a high school kid, I wanted to be like Charles Atlas. That guy that had the sand kicked in his face and came back and he went through the isometric contractions. I was all over that. And I used to go down to the corner drugstore where I grew up, and Muscle and Development and Strength and Health and all those magazines were out, and I'd go down there and read them from front to back. And I wanted to be that guy that was built like Mr. America. So I've always kind of been obsessed with that, and I guess I still am. It's just one of those things. I want to look in the mirror and be proud of my body, and so I've always been disciplined with the amount of calories that I take in, but I haven't always been disciplined with the type of food that I've eaten. I would sit down and eat a bag of pretzels. If I started the pretzel. If I ate one pretzel, I'd eat the whole bag. Of course, then I wouldn't eat anything else the rest of the day. So the amount of calories I got in were probably monitored. There was way too much, but it was all processed, BS type of stuff that I was eating. And then every time that I would go on a semi-fast, I always felt terrible. I never got into, because I like to eat and I like to feel good. But all of a sudden this carnivore thing started taking off, and I started getting involved in that. But I really didn't feel. It took me 4 or 5 days before I felt like that I was making any progress on it. I didn't feel good. I had the carnivore flu. But so this last time, 150 days ago, I said, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take. I don't care how I feel. I follow Sean Baker, whatever his name is, that's a big carnivore guy. I watch him, and a couple other guys that I watch, and so I just started following him. And I started reading that you're going to go through carnivore flu. So just wait, have it, just do it. And so after about 7, 8 days, wow, I started feeling really good. And all of a sudden, I'm 15 days in, I'd lost about 5 pounds. And I'm going, okay, it's water weight. I know it's not, I hadn't lost 5 pounds of fat because I was eating steak and eggs, but it was there. And all of a sudden, I started my journey at 181 pounds. And, yesterday I got up and I weighed 161. And if I took my shirt off, I got some definition. I'm 78 years old, and so I feel really good. So for me, where I'm at now truly is the meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds. I'm not strictly carnivore like I was, but I started adding in high-fat plain yogurt with blueberries. I started adding stuff like that. Eating grapes, as an example. I'll put that in there. But I haven't had one piece of sugar or a processed food in 157 days.
Wow.
And for me, and I've been out for Thanksgiving, Christmas, over to people's houses, and I'm just not going to eat that shit anymore. I'm not going to do it. And I think that's my journey that's going to lead me towards that positive goal of mine to reach 100, because I'm not going to eat the junk and the candies and stuff like that anymore. That's over with. And and I'm very disciplined. When I put my mind to something, I go for it. And I'm very disciplined with that.
Yeah. So with nutrition, it sounds like that's the goalpost is out there for that. The functionality wise, like how has that changed since, obviously massively into weightlifting,
Right.
Quite accomplished in the sport. Now it doesn't sound like that's as big of a part of your training. What does that look like and how did you know when to maybe put down the barbell a little bit more and start doing some more bodyweight stuff? Like, how's that journey been?
Yeah, when your body will tell you.
Yeah.
I have two knee replacements, and the shoulders need to be replaced, but I'm not going to do that. So there comes a time that you'll find out, well, what is it that I can do? Can I do push-ups? Yeah, I can, but they hurt my shoulders. But what happens if I go on on my propane tank and keep my elbows in? Can I do push-ups then without pain? Yes, I can do that. Why would I do push-ups on the ground if they hurt my shoulders when I can do push-ups on a tank and keep my elbows in and them not hurt my shoulders? That's the important part, And when I started doing pull-ups, I used to have to do the jumping pull-up. But now, at 78, I can do 10 to 12, geezer strict pull-ups. So that's a major part of my routine, right?
Yeah.
And I can get on the glute ham bench and do sit-ups.
Yeah.
I can do back extensions. I can sit out with an ab roller on my knees, and I can do 25 where my hat goes down and touches the ground using the ab roller.
Yeah.
And when I can get 25 ab rollers, I can actually stand up, go down and go all the way out and at least do one, maybe two of the ab rollers without having a knee assist. So, that's pretty daggum good. So the body weight exercises, you can do that. It's resistance. Mm-hmm. I have guys, I love pull-ups. I think that's one of the best exercises for geezers. But geezers can't do them, so I put them in a band.
Yeah.
They use them in a band. And, and then all of a sudden, they'll do 5 or 6 or 7. And when they can do 10, I take the band away and get them to do jumping pull-ups.
Yeah.
And then they jump up and then eccentrically lower themselves down slowly. And then next thing you know, they're doing 2 or 3 pull-ups. Next thing you know, they're doing 5 pull-ups. Yeah. And the next thing you know, they're doing 1 rest, 2 rest, 3 rest, going all the way up and then back down again. And, for long, they're doing as many pull-ups as I am. For me, pull-ups is the best upper body exercise that anybody at any age can do.
Yeah, cool.
So it's a great, not kipping, but just regular, I call them geezer strict. There's a little bit of kip, but there's not that CrossFit kip in there.
Yeah. Sounds like just, normal scaling, kind of creative scaling to try and keep the same movement patterns alive. What you said something a second ago that I think is you I want to say breeze through, but I'm curious. You said, why would I do push-ups to the ground that hurt my shoulders if I could do them to the propane tank and not hurt? I totally obviously agree. And I would say as a coach, this is just something I have to contend with quite frequently is why not just scale and make it easier and make this make more sense? But as an accomplished athlete and somebody who could have done that, like what resonated for you in your ego to say, hey, this doesn't make sense to me. Like I need to make the right choice, even if it's not the most comfortable choice.
I just think intuition, I think it was pain is a great equalizer. If my shoulders hurt, why am I going to do that? Sure. That's stupid, right? I've got to find something that I can do. And if the shoulders hurt by doing push-ups on the ground or using the parallettes or whatever, then, I instruct all my athletes, find an exercise that we can do that's not going to cause pain.
Yeah.
Because pain is the great equalizer. If it hurts, I'm not, they're not going to do it. And the coaching point then is to find something you can do and not do nothing, because my population, the people that I grew up with in high school, first of all, there's nobody in my graduating class that is working as hard as I am working. And the guys that I grew up with are worse than the girls I grew up with. The guys I grew up with are unmotivated. I'm not going to do this. They're stubborn as hell. I'm not going to do this because, I can't do what I used to do. The girls they never had anything. My girls that I grew up with, they were cheerleaders. They didn't have shit. They had nothing. My high school, my graduating class was like 194 people. And these girls that if they did anything at all, it was a cheerleader and that was it. The PE classes were a joke for the girls. A lot of times they didn't even have PE classes. But today, those girls, because they weren't educated in the wrong manner with egos, those girls are taking Zumba classes and dance classes, and they're doing movement where the guys are just too freaking stubborn to do anything, right?
Yeah.
And luckily for me, I had a great coach and Father Lang at Notre Dame, and I had great role models in the Marine Corps, and the area that I grew up with, we just, hard work was something that was in our vocabulary and a lot of stubbornness in there as well. And we just weren't, I just always grew up with, I'm not going to be denied, and the Marine Corps taught me that, it's, you kick ass and take names as long as you can. And when you're taking your last breath, man, you're saying, St. Peter, here I come, but I'm going to get in there and kick ass and take names there too. It's just a mindset and an attitude. And if you have a bad attitude, you're never going to have a great quality of life, in my opinion.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's a way to change, like as a coach? So for listeners, for myself, like is there a way to help somebody change that who has been stubborn for 70 years and has decided like this is just who I am, and obviously I think they have to have some internal motivation to want to do it, but as a coach, how do you communicate that?
Well, I think you can do it verbally all you want, but if they're thick-headed, they're not gonna do it. So for me, it's like role modeling. It's like it's don't do as I do as I say. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
I want somebody to look at me and say, well, God, does Burgener ever rest? So when we train here Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'm going to be the first one in the gym working out. They see me out walking those hills. They see me coming up the driveway backwards with my dog. They see me doing my pull-ups. So, they're not going to see me sitting on my ass doing nothing. So I've got to model that behavior. When I started my journey, for me, it's interesting because how many people have come to me and they've said, what the hell are you doing, man? You're really leaned out. What is it that you're doing? Meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds. That's what I talk to them about. And because I just lived it. Yeah. I'm living that. And it's a situation that I've never gone 100% in with that.
Yeah.
Until 157 days ago.
Yeah.
Where I said I'm 100% in. And I'm stubborn enough to be 100% in. And all of a sudden I'm feeling I'm feeling it around my waist. Where'd that thing go?
Yeah.
And man, I feel pretty good. I get on the scale and it's 161. I'm going, holy shit, and it's like, wow, that's, so it's the modeling of behavior for me anyway, as a Marine, I always had to be out in front with my troops. As a school teacher, I always wanted to model the kids. Every time my kids went on a run, I ran with them. Mm. And then when I couldn't run because of my knees, I rode a bike. But the kids knew I was there. And they saw me doing pull-ups. They saw me doing squats. They saw me doing muscle snatches. They saw me doing all this other stuff in the weight room. I saw my son come in and who snatched 400 and clean and jerk 500. They see that. So we model the behavior that we're trying to get the people that we're working with, trying to get them to do.
Yeah. In that population, I'm sure the relatability between knowing that you're going through the same thing they are, I'm sure that resonates with them big time. And for someone, so I'm 40, and if I were to come into your garage and coach your group, how could I relate? And this is a hypothetical for any other coach who wants to start working with an older population. And it's hard to relate, I imagine. Or it's hard for them to feel like, yeah, this guy knows what, he doesn't understand anything I'm going through right now. How can I relate to them? How can I communicate best with that?
I would make appointments with each one of them and talk to them on a one-on-one basis. And at least that initial, introduction that you have with them is going to tell you a lot who they are. And, I'll tell you, there's going to be times that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make that sucker drink, right? And you can't take that personal. You're gonna do everything you can to work with these people that you have. You're gonna find out what they can and what they can't do, but you're also gonna find out what this is all about with them. And I'll tell you, one of the best places I ever visited was a place. I think it's All Star CrossFit on the Big Island of Hawaii, and the gal that owns that box is named Casey. And 2 days a week when I was out there, so 2 days a week, she had people from the home assist, place where they brought them in, and she had women that were wheelchair bound that were sitting down in a wheelchair, PVC pipe snatching. You know what I'm saying? It's they're pulling that bar over their head, doing these movement patterns over their head, and doing anything that they can do to keep active. And they were just socializing and having a good time. And Casey was out front leading them, getting them to do, the people that could sit down to a stair or a seat and stand back up, she had them doing it. They would sit to stand to pull over their head the PVC pipe. She had them doing it, and they were just in the best mindset that these guys could do because they were socializing and they were doing something.
Yeah.
And not everybody's going to be like that. And if you can meet with them to find out the motivation and then all of a sudden give them a PVC pipe that they can have some success with, you're going to find out a lot about them. And then quite frankly, if those people are Debbie Downers and they're not going to want to be part of it, yeah, you know what? That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I don't want that one or two people to hurt the 10 people that are there. Yeah. I want to give them everything I can, and I want to instruct them. I'm going to talk with them. I'm going to motivate them. But if they don't want to be motivated and they're going to be a negative Debbie Downer, then I don't want to take away from the other 8 or 9 people that I'm dealing with as well. So you got to I ended up, I know I'm jumping around here, but I ended up one time firing an Olympian out of my gym because he came into my gym and he used foul language around my kids and he thought he owned the place. I kicked him out of the gym. And he was a Marine. He was a brother Marine.
Sure.
And, I finally I tried to talk to him. You know what? You can't talk like that around here. I have kids coming in here, and he go, yeah, whatever. And then finally, I just said, you know what? You can't come back. He says, you're kidding me. I said, no, I'm not kidding you. You're not allowed to work out at Mike's gym. About a week later, he came up to my gym in tears, and he said, I need your coaching. I'll never swear again. And the guy ended up being a 1996 Olympian.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I'm just stubborn enough and motivated enough. I want to help as many people as I can help. And I'm going to not be anybody but me.
Yeah.
I'm me. I'm Mike Burgener, who I am. I'm a pain in the ass. I'm a hard ass. I will kick your ass in a heartbeat, and then I'll love you to death. And it's I think that's, you can't be me.
Right.
That person can't be me, but you got to find out who you are and be the best version of who you are for them.
Yeah.
And then, you know what? Some people are going to come to the dance and they're going to want to dance. And other people are going to come to the dance and all they want to do is sit around and socialize. And if they're not negative, they can come to the dance and they can socialize. But if they come to the dance and they want to socialize and be a negative Debbie Downer, then after a couple times of me reaming their asses, they're not going to be asked to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, it sounds like to me the universality of running a gym in general is still applicable towards all populations, especially this geezer group, right? Like that's kind of what I'm hearing. This scaling of movement patterns, the inclusive community, the socialness, the interacting with people as they're individuals, even if they're in the group. Like it sounds to me is like it's still what we've been talking about is gym owners, right? I mean, am I screwing that up?
no, I mean, think about this for a second. So you walk into your class, you've got 15 people in your class, right? And you've got they're all paying you, by the way, right? So you've got the workout that's on the board, and it's Cindy, right? We got 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats, and so your studs, the people that have been there for 6 weeks or whatever. All of a sudden, you got somebody that comes in and they're 55 or 60 and they haven't done anything. Well, what the hell are you going to do? You got to figure out how I can work with this person, right? How am I going to do 5 pull-ups? Well, they're not going to do 5 pull-ups if they can't. I mean, if they can, great. But if they can't, you've got to figure out something that is going to be a pulling exercise. Yeah. Okay, I can do upright rows with a PVC pipe. And I see how they can do that. And I can do, 10 push-ups. Okay, can you do push-ups against the wall? Yeah. Okay, let me see you do 10 push-ups against the wall. Okay, and what about 15 squats? How about holding on to this thing and sitting down and pulling yourself back up to a squat? Can you do that? Yeah, there you have it. There's 5, 10, 15. I just scaled their workout, and I've made them feel part of what? The class.
Yeah.
You're not, I mean, you're watching these guys, but you're also giving instruction to this person. And these other people that you've been working with in the past that are paying you, they're going to know and understand. They're going to give you some slack. Now, if you did that all the time and you only gave your attention to that person, at least you've given this person something that they can feel good about. God, Markwardt, God, he just did a great job with me. He gave me some attention. I didn't think I could do pull-ups. I know I can't, but he gave me upright rows with the PVC pipe. Gave me range of motion with a PVC pipe.
Yeah.
Maybe the next time I have that PVC pipe full of sand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next time maybe I do a muscle snatch with it.
Yeah.
Whatever. But you're giving instruction to that person and giving him something that he can do and feel part of the group.
Yeah.
And the CrossFit classes that I've really enjoyed is that when a new person comes in, typically, unless the guy's way out in left field, they all make everybody feel wanted and welcome. I mean, that's, they've all been there. They've always been in that fetal position, right?
Yeah. Totally. I think that's super. That's no matter where you go, where you're at, everybody that's been in that gym, no matter, like most of us got our butts kicked the first day and most of us know how that feels. And most of us want to help somebody walk over those coals so they come on the other side and hang out with us. And, so I think that's the hardest part I think about it for a lot of us, I think, is communicating that to the outside world and especially with the older populations that a lot of us are starting to work with. Do you have any insight into how we make that more accessible? By
run a geezer only class.
Okay.
I mean, we're actually talking about having with Burgener Strength. We're actually talking about having a Burgener Strength geezer camp.
Cool.
And so it'd be out there. You'd have, geezers are the age group. You're a geezer in training. We're going to use geezers first, and then if there's not enough people sign up, we'll go down to geezers in training, and we will instruct the Burgener way with the snatch and the clean and jerk and everything else that people go with, but it'll be a modification based on what your abilities are, and everybody wants instruction. I mean, Wednesdays I open the gym up to people that want help in the snatch and clean and jerk. And I mean, I had one guy come up here that was so ugly in his lifts. It was, oh my God, he was going to hurt himself. I mean, it was the ugliest thing I'd ever seen in my life. Well, that he comes back every Wednesday. He's been coming for almost 2 years, and we switched him over to a split snatch. and it's a lot less ugly than it was, right?
That's good improvement. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good improvement. But in fact, it's so funny because he's learned so much from us that if we have a new person coming up that needs help, he'll go help the new person. It's basically, after being up here for 2 years or longer, he's become one of our geezer coaches. One of our coaches, that if somebody's come up that's never snatched or clean and jerk, he can take him from the very beginning and work the fundamentals of stance, grip, and position, because that's really where it's at, isn't it? I mean, what are the fundamentals? Stance, grip, and position. I don't care what your exercise is that you're doing. There's fundamentals that are involved with each exercise. And 90% of the time, those fundamentals are stance, grip, and position. That's what it is. And Olympic style weightlifting is, just the way it is. Believe it or not, I used to be a golf coach. I couldn't play golf for shit, but I was a great golf coach because I taught fundamentals, and my fundamentals were stance, grip, and position.
Yeah.
And I made my golfers drill the right way, rather than going out in the driving range and pulling out Big Bertha to hit the driver as far as they could hit it.
Yeah.
Golf it mimics life.
Yes.
There's so many things that you can learn from the game of golf, but you have to drill your fundamentals. So
yeah, right. And that's why I've loved fitness for as long as I have. Like, for me, it's boiled down to life in so many ways. And what you just said about the basics, I think that kind of brings us all full circle on the continuum of training, is that you can reach massive heights, but even if you're on a bit of a decline, by focusing on those basics, like, we are helping people not fall, break their hip, and then that's the end. But still, it's just like that refinement of the basics as you continue on, and figuring out where you are in that continuum is the pathway to success.
There's a guy by the name of Skip Chase. He's used to own a gym up in the Washington area north of Seattle. When he comes down here, he's a former Army Ranger, Green Berets. He's 68-ish, I think, somewhere around there. Masters athlete. And, he said to me one time, he says, we don't worry about where people are. We're always worried about where they're going. We want to make them better. When I get them, I want to make them better than when they did and when they came to me. So he had people that would come in. He would talk to them if they showed an interest in nutrition. He would say, okay, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna work with you on your nutrition. You've told me you're motivated about your nutrition, your diet. Yes, I am motivated. Okay, when are you available? I'm available anytime. Okay, I want to see you at your house at 2:00 tomorrow. Okay, okay. He would go to their house and he would look through their cupboards. Shit you not. He would go and he would look through the cupboards, and he said there wasn't one cupboard that he ever went to that had good food in it.
Sure.
They all had junk. Yeah. They all had, they all believed that they could outwork a bad diet, right? And Glassman said that a long time ago. You can't outwork a bad diet. You just can't do it. You can work as hard as you want, but if your diet is a shitty diet, you're not going to have benefits. So he started educating them.
Yeah.
And sugar is the enemy. And and all of a sudden, the interest that this coach had to go to their house because they wanted nutrition guidance. Now, he didn't go in there if they didn't want nutrition guidance.
Breaking and entering nutrition guidance.
Right. So this was like we're coming in there, baby. And, all of a sudden, these guys started making gains. And it takes 2 or 3 weeks. If you stay on that structured diet for 2 or 3 weeks and you keep that no sugar bullshit out of it, you're going to feel 100% better.
Yeah.
And that sugar is just an addictive substance. It tastes great. There's a reason why,
Yeah.
and people love it, and it tastes good. They want to eat a bag of chips, and I'm one of them, and you just have to be educated and disciplined enough to not do it. But Skip was one of these guys that he would go over to the people's houses and educate them that way. Well, you see this? He said, yeah, I walked out of there with about $200 worth of junk.
Yeah, but again, it's back to basics, right? Like you can't do the master, you can't do the higher stuff on the pyramid without the basics, and the basics is getting rid of the crap. And same, back to all the grip position.
It's fundamentals, right? It's meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds.
Yeah, yeah.
I used to look at that and I'd think about Glassman. I thought, what the hell? Meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds. Some fruits, no sugar. And then I'd open up my potato chips bag and holy shit.
Where's this on there? Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, Coach, I think we'll wrap this up, but it's been a true honor. I appreciate the perspective you brought to help me coach others better, other coaches coach others better, start our own geezer groups, and I appreciate all you've done for us as coaches.
Well, let me know how it goes, because it's a lot of fun, and thank you very much for having me.